Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic indie comic interview. It is your Capes Crusader, Cody, and we are keeping it geekly with my brand new friend, Jason. I was going to give your last name and pronunciation, but then I froze and I was going to say Michael, and I was like, I'm not going to do it again. It's oh, God, I can't do it again. I'm so sorry. Will you hit me with it?
Michalski.
Michalski.
There you go.
With our brand new friend, Jason Michalski of Northern Blood. We're going to be breaking down his brand new Indiegogo and everything in between and a whole lot of Nazi killing. My man, Jason, how are you doing? Welcome to the show, dude. Welcome, and good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm doing great, man. How are you this morning?
I am not too bad. It is a beautiful, beautiful Sunday. In my sleeping slumber last night, I put the house onto heat and without realizing it, and so I'm all sweaty this morning. I'm like, what is going on? And then I looked, and instead of it being it's 69 cold, it was 69 heat, and I guess that makes a difference. So now we got the central air going. It feels like I'm walking on clouds, and I'm good to go, man. How are you though?
Good. Today is a rare morning where I have some free time to myself, so I thought, what better way to spend it than hanging out with you, right?
Ooh, yeah. Let's keep it geekly, man.
Yeah, right. I've really been enjoying the channel. So I really, when you reached out to me, the first time you reached out to me, I completely missed your DM, and I found it a month later, and I was like, oh man, this guy's not going to respond to me again. and then we managed to hook up again, and so I've been really enjoying the show, and I'm really glad that you invited me back again. And,
thank you.
So really, really happy to be here.
No,
you're doing great stuff.
Dude, I really appreciate that. I was, and the same thing happens to me too. At the end of the day, we're just two guys, right? Just two dads doing our thing. And, it's hard for me sometimes. I'll get a DM and I'll forget, that's what happens. You're like, hey, I'm going to respond to this when I have time, because I don't like to, do any half measures. I don't, if I'm going to talk to you, I want to give you kind of the my full attention. So I'll wait till, I have some free time, but free time never comes, right? And then it just gets piled up, and next thing you know, it's 2 weeks later and you're like, oh, shit, I'm so sorry, man. But we made the damn thing happen, and I'm excited. Jason, let's start breaking down who you are. What got you into indie comics? Let's talk about your history, creating them.
Wow. So indie comics. So I've been wanting to make comics for, I think most of my life. So I started reading comics in the early to mid 80s as a kid, like anybody. Found them on the spinner rack in the candy stores and in the pharmacies, and fell in love, and just took it from there. And as I got into high school in the early 90s, when just around the time where DC had launched their mature readers titles, which eventually morphed into the Vertigo titles at the time, Hellblazer, Sandman, Shade the Changing Man, all those books. That's when I really was wow, I want to do this. Those comics, I wasn't old enough. I wasn't supposed to be buying those based on the maturity rating, but my friend who ran the local comic book store in my neighborhood would look the other way when he sold them to me. So those blew my mind. And
did your parents ever catch you reading them?
No,
I think you're good at hiding them.
Right, that, and I would just hide them between the Spider-Man and Batman comic. I think my mom was just happy that I was reading, and so it was never a question. I grew up, my mom raised us for the most part, so my mom had kind of, had no choice but to kind of leave us to our own, leave us on our own at times because she's working, right? So we had a lot of free reign to do our thing while she was at work, and so there was a level of trust there when we were kids. So that was the time you'd break out, those comics and Heavy Metal magazine and stuff. Right?
Dude, let's go.
So all that stuff blew my mind, and those are the kind of the story that I was wow, these are kind of just whatever those stories were, whatever was about, whatever they were about, clicked with me as a kid. I was 12, 13, and I wanted to be a writer from that point.
Which was your favorite? Your favorite story, the one that you read over and over the most?
Probably. It was definitely. It was probably issues of Shade the Changing Man and the Garth Ennis Hellblazer comics.
That's so awesome.
And I really, really love those, especially the Shade comics. Peter Milligan and Chris. I'm gonna probably butcher his last name, Baccello. I never knew how to pronounce his name.
Hey, correctly. It's what, you know. If I'm gonna butcher him, you get to too. You know, that's you get a pass.
Yeah. That combination of creator, comic book makers is still. They're still heroes of mine. But yeah, there's certain issues, like there was a Shade the Changing Man issue with about one that kind of still stands out to me is with a guy who is a one-shot, like a one and done issue with a guy who looked like Jim Morrison, and he met up with some girl on the road, and the girl thought she thought he was Jim Morrison. And they had a one-night stand, and then that guilt had kind of stained him.
He was James Morrison, huh?
Yeah, James Morrison. And then somehow that guilt had transferred to Shade, and Shade had that mark of guilt stained on his stomach physically, and Shade had to like find this guy and find the girl and kind of work out what had happened in the past. And it's just, I thought it was pretty cool because it kind of, the musical influence with the Doors and Jim Morrison was something that I really liked at the time. Stuff like that. And
did you ever see what was that Doors movie with Val Kilmer?
Oh yeah.
That movie was awesome, dude.
Yeah. I watch that movie, every once in a while. I still watch it every once in a while. It's an awesome movie. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I like it because it, through the whole movie, Jim Morrison is this Oliver Stone, I guess, plays Jim Morrison as the legend all the time. So I can't imagine he was like that all the time.
Yeah.
Like it'd be unbearable to be around somebody who acted like that all the time.
Oh my God, dude, that would be just a nightmare. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know. I don't like it. It's such a hard concept to understand too, because like when people are like, "Yo, it's Keep It a Geek," I'm like, dude, I'm just a regular guy. I'm just a dad. I got 3 kids. Like I wake up. Like this is, I do this for fun. Like I'm a pizza boy on the other end of the sticks. Like. I could not imagine like living that lifestyle. That just is beyond me.
Yeah. It's definitely a lifestyle, and there's definitely a time limit on it, right? There's definitely a short window for that. But yeah, so stories like that. There was another Hellblazer story with Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon. I think where John Constantine blacks out and wakes up. He has a dream about a fighter pilot in World War II. Fighter pilot crashes, and I forgot exactly the details, but I think when Constantine wakes up, he's actually next to the remains of the pilot. And that was a story that kind of stuck with me because I like war stories.
Yeah.
Especially World War II, as you can see. So things like that. I know I'm not really remembering them in detail. It's been a while since I've read them, but it's just a lot of interesting stories. They were doing a lot of different things in comics, and it kind of just showed that you can do anything in this medium. And it made it really attractive to me. So since then, since high school, basically, I've always wanted to make comics from as a writer because I don't have the talent to draw. So,
dude, I could not draw to save my life.
No.
So who's your artist on your book?
Oh, so the artist, and he's the real star of this book, is Antonio Rojo. Antonio is a Spanish-based artist who I've been privileged to call my friend for the last 12 or 13 years now. We've worked together a long time. This is our second collaboration together that we've completed together. That's we have other ideas, but this is our second completed works. He has a long history. We're roughly the same age. He's had other works published in the comic book industry, over time. Book called Serpent Wars with I believe Marcosia from a few years ago, which is another kind of sword and sorcery type of tale, like a Conan sword and sorcery, which is a pretty cool book. We discovered each other through the internet, through a mutual friend. I was working on a project and I needed some logo designs made, and Antonio's kind of a jack of all trades, where he's a graphic designer as well as a comic book artist.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so my mutual friend who's working on a book was working on a project with him, said, "Hey, why don't you contact Antonio?" And then we connected that way.
Mm-hmm.
He did some work for me, which he doesn't remember, but he did. and
It's like,
you
damn,
know,
man, come on.
yeah, and he's incredibly talented. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he comes from that school of, where his influences are pretty clear, in my opinion, of like, John Byrne, Alan Davis, you know, uh, like that early mid to late 80s Marvel Comics house style, Neil Adams kind of energy he brings to comics, and which I love, so our relationship is very good in that way, where, when we work together, I write a basic script and then he just kind of runs with it, and then whatever he decides to do with the page, I'll just adapt the dialogue to that.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I want to get back into your history as a writer as well, but when you mentioned art, I just wanted to go in that direction real quick, because I always love trying to give credit to the artist too, and trying to bring the artist into this as well.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty good about like getting wrapped up in conversation, so I wanted to make sure I didn't forget. So let's say you're just getting out of high school, you're getting your hand at writing some of your first books. What did those books look like? What was some of those stories? What was some of those concepts?
So back then, it was a lot of bad poetry, a lot of like goth inspired bad poetry, because I was listening to a lot of like post-punk music at that point in my life, a lot of like Echo and the Bunnymen, The Cure, Dead Can Dance, stuff like that. So that had a big influence on what I was trying to do at that time. But it didn't really, it took me a very long time to really understand what I was trying to write, like trying to write prose stories, very bad impressions of Ernest Hemingway, James Joyce, stuff like that. Those were like the modern writers of the turn of the 20th century was a big influence on me at that time. So I was just trying to like find a way to write by copying them, and then I was very, and when you try to copy somebody, you kind of understand what the results are going to be in hindsight, where it's not very good. And, I was just trying to learn that way, on how to write. And then eventually I discovered like the beat writers of the 40s and 50s, Jack Kerouac, things like that. And that became another influence on me. So I didn't really start trying to really write comics seriously until maybe the early 2000s, like roughly early 2000, because before, like while this was happening, while I was trying to learn how to write and trying to find my footing there, I was also working or trying to work as an audio engineer. So music was a big part of my life at that time, and that was kind of the main goal at that time.
I gotcha.
Was to work in a recording studio. I went to school for it. I wanted to record live music. I wanted to make records and be an engineer. So that was like, this is what I wanted to do. So that's what I spent most of like the late 90s doing, until the bottom of that industry kind of bottomed out. The industry kind of bottomed out, that's what I'm trying to say, when home recording kind of boomed in the late 90s. And recording studios, at least in New York City, started to close, because now you could, with the evolution of home recording, a lot of people weren't cutting their demos in recording studios anymore. They were cutting their demos at home. And smaller recording studios were losing money because clients would stop coming, because they can just figure it all, buy an iMac and an audio interface, and I'll just record at home. And those
it's never the same. It's
not.
Yeah.
No. So like, so I was having a hard time finding a job as a assistant recording engineer at the time. And so, it just didn't work out for me. And then, kids happened. Yeah. And when kids happened, my career just changed, goals changed. and writing kind of took a backseat for a little while. And but started working in technology for a lot of that time, in the early 2000s, and then still writing, still trying to figure out what I was trying to, what type of stories I wanted to write, what type of comic books, what kind of comics I really wanted to focus on. And so, it was just something that really wasn't a focus for a long time because of just competing priorities, until maybe the last 10 years or so. And when I kind of realized that I was pretty good at writing, these adventure stories that are, somewhat, fun, fast-paced, violent, over the top. Recently,
so what was sorry to interrupt. What were some of those adventure stories like?
So a lot of it is like pulpy 1930s kind of war stories. A lot of like I had, for some reason, I just have this fascination with war stories, whether it's soldiers fighting aliens, monsters, things like that. I always kind of find my way, going back to those topics for some reason. I think maybe it's probably because of the movies and stuff I grew up watching as a kid.
Yeah.
I grew up in the 80s, so a lot of the stuff on TV was either like, a lot of those war movies based on either World War II or Vietnam that were very popular in the mid 80s, where there's like the late era John Wayne movies, like the Green Berets, the Chuck Norris missing in action movies, the Rambo movies. There's a lot of those like war movies and war TV shows were very popular during that time. So when I was a kid, I would just watch anything that was on TV. So I would just watch that stuff, and I think it's subconscious.
You watch what was it, Band of Brothers?
No,
I was gonna say you would probably love it, dude. You would love that. Yeah. I bet you would love it. It's like I want to say how many. It's like hour-long episodes. Maybe it's like 7 episodes, 8. I don't know. But it's basically like sounds like everything you would just love, like the old school like war mentality to it, and just the way it's done and captured, just really awesome.
So Antonio told me like he drew nods to Band of Brothers in our first book. And he's like, you got to watch it. And I'm like, yeah, I'll get to it.
Now you gotta.
So just the war stories was mostly what I was writing a lot. And then the first comic book I made was a collaboration with a friend of mine. And you can find some of it online. It was called Zoe Out of Time. And that was a story about a girl from the future who came back in time to meet a rock star that she was in love with, that she had fallen in love with through the music that she was listening to. Her father created a time travel device. She steals it. She goes back in time to save his life before he dies at a young age. And that was very much influenced by, growing up, listening to a lot of music, playing in bands, recording engineers, stuff like that.
Well, I was about to ask, was that like any influenced by Jim Morrison as well?
Oh, absolutely.
He died at 27, didn't he?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was. Yeah. So the rock star character in the comic was very much based on that. Like that Kurt Cobain, Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix trend of these rock stars dying at a young age. So we kind of based that character around that, and as a model. And this young girl, falls in love with him through his music, and like any other normal teenager, they'll just steal a time travel device. And,
just a typical, typical Monday. Let's go.
Yeah, typical, coming of age story, and she goes back, and obviously makes things worse when she goes back and tries to save him. And we did that, but unfortunately, we were never able to finish the book. It was available through Comixology for quite some time. But then once we realized that we weren't able to finish it, we had taken it down because it wasn't fair to make the first few issues available if we knew we weren't able to finish it.
I could definitely respect a move like that, because some people would have just left it up there just to see what they could get from it. But that's pretty awesome. Yeah. So That's something that you don't ever foresee yourself ever picking back up?
Well, it's possible. It's just the creative team kind of imploded to a degree. The artist went on to he's an incredible artist. He went on to draw Batman, and he went on to draw like Tomb Raider for Dark Horse.
Dude,
and he's one of the regular cover artists for Zenescope. His name is Durla Santa Cruz, and he's a wonderful guy.
Let's go. That's so awesome.
He just, when Batman calls, the DC Comics office calls, what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right. So we lost. So he just couldn't. We couldn't work out a timeline. And obviously, he was gonna pursue his dream. So he started working for DC and Dark Horse. I think he even, he's still drawing covers for Zenescope pretty regularly, I believe.
That is so awesome.
Yeah. And, he's an incredible artist, and the colorist, who was equally as amazing, he went off to do other things. So we kind of found ourselves in a position where we had 3 issues completed that we just couldn't. We had a hard time finding, or even coming to terms with finding, an artist equally as good to replace him.
I gotcha.
Because it'd be so like, it's like going from it'd be, we didn't want that much of an inconsistency in the flow of the storytelling, where all of a sudden you have 60 pages of one artist, and then the last 20 pages are someone completely different, and ruins the could potentially ruin the experience for the reader. So I just kind of threw my hands up in the air. I was like,
but no, it's still an awesome move to pull him down, though, knowing that you don't have a finished deadline.
Yeah, and it was heartbreaking because I really, we really loved the book, and as the longer it kept, we once we realized, okay, we're probably not going to be able to complete this book with the same creative team. We just decided to fold up the tent and focus on other things. But Durlis is out there, is such an incredible artist. We were so lucky to get him when we did. I mean, how many people can say that they had a future Batman artist drawing their indie comic?
Yeah, that is so cool.
And then once that was done, I went back to the drawing board with more kind of crazy war stories, and that led to my first published work with Antonio.
So let's break that down. What was the name of that called?
So that one is called Gandhi, the Beast Within.
Gandhi?
It's published. Yeah. So that is a adventure comedy where Gandhi, where the idea is that the reason Gandhi is a pacifist is because we turned him basically into a parody of the Incredible Hulk.
Oh, dude, that is so funny.
So his secret, the reason why he became a pacifist, was that he's hiding the secret that when he gets angry, he turns into this Hulk-like monster. And the origin of this was that one day he's walking about in South Africa while he was stationed as a medic. And in South Africa, around the turn of the 20th century, spaceship crashes. There's some MacGuffin of alien crystals. He finds the alien ship. The crystals, the ship explodes. The energy from the crystals gets on him. He's exposed to that blast, and then the next thing you know, he when he gets angry, he turns into basically the Hulk.
Did he change colors?
So, no, he just looks like a really big version of himself.
That would still be awesome. Hey, so real quick, this reminds me of there was what was it, Civilization 6. There was a glitch in it where Gandhi was so passive that it actually made him insanely evil, and he was one of the very first people to start nuking you. Was there any correlation with that?
So we did that. Our book came out first.
Hey!
We had that. We did the book, and basically the basic storyline is that once this happens to him, World War he kind of keeps it a secret up until World War I, and that's when the U.S. government figures out what he is, and then they basically blackmail him into becoming a weapon, and they use him to defeat Germany in World War I. And then when World War II breaks out, the Allied forces, Roosevelt, Stalin, and Churchill essentially kidnap and blackmail him again to fight Hitler, to end the war. So they drop him in the middle of Germany to fight Hitler. And that's what the story is about. And that was published by Panini Comics España back in 2019.
That's so cool.
And it's only available in Spanish. There's no English edition. And it had a really good reception. We were like, we had write-ups and interviews in a lot of the bigger newspapers in India. It was a pretty crazy experience.
So you're fluent in Spanish as well?
No, not at all. So I wrote the book in English.
And then had it translated?
Antonio submitted the book to Panini. Panini loved it. And then Antonio and Panini translated it. I can't read it. I can read some of it, but
how's that feel? Like your book? Yeah. I was gonna say that has to be like such a surreal feeling, like having a book and you can be like, "Yo, check out my book." It's Spanish though, but you know, any plans on making it like English? Like I'm sure like a translation shouldn't be too hard, right?
No, I can. I mean, I have my English script. Yeah. Like, I mean, I wrote it.
Or I meant like getting it reprinted in English.
I thought about it, and you know, maybe. So I've gonna like, it was the first completed book. Mm-hmm. It's not perfect, you know. A lot when I go back and read it, I'm like, you know, like, you know, when you go back and like read your stuff or watch something you did or listen to something you did, and like, you know, and Antonio was like, you know, he always was like, I want to, you know, make the next book better than the last. So we kind of have to talk about like whether or not we want to reprint it, because we're a 50-50 partnership. But we're still thinking about it, like finding an outlet for it.
Do we ever see Hitler like turn into a Hawk version as well to go up against Gandhi?
No, he wears a battle suit. So he wears like this,
dude, yes, that's like awesome. Armored,
he wears like this, you know, 1930s inspired kind of larger, you know, sort of like an Iron Man.
That kind of gives me what was it? Loveless from Wild Wild West, when he has the huge like mechanical spider.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah.
You know, and the story is very much, it's another war story. It's very over the top parody or satire of war and politics at the time. Very much like a Mel Brooks movie in a sense, where you know, everybody's a moron. And, you know, like, you know, and it's just really every scene is just kind of over the top, and you know, so it came out, and you know, and we had a lot of fun with it, and it was just kind of like, okay, how could we just really exaggerate every scene, you know, and I had a lot of fun with that, and it came out in 2019, and then we had all these big plans. We did a small book tour in Spain.
Oh, dude, that is so cool.
Yeah.
Did they fly you out?
Well, I went out. So they arranged a lot. They arranged some of the signings at some of the Comic-Cons.
That's so cool, dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It was such a incredible experience. Like we arranged, like, well, Antonio, when I say we, because he's the local, but he arranged all of these signings at different bookstores in Spain that we went to.
How was that experience for you? Like were you, did you have any experience like talking like or speaking Spanish at all, or was it just that you were kind of like, oh, I have no idea what's going on right now?
A lot of that. So I don't speak Spanish, right? I you know, I live in, I've, you know, born and raised in New York, so I know like New York City, so I just know like some Spanish words, you know, just because Spanish is the second language in New York City, right? So you just pick things up. But it's very different when you go to a country where it's just, that's the fluent native language. I had no idea. Like I figured out, I'm just going to go. Like I went there, the first time I went there was in 2018. We did a convention. I went there with him in Madrid just to sit at the table next to him. And just to see, you know, just to go and do that and hang out with him, because he would sell art prints and stuff. And I figured, oh, you know, I'll just go and see what happens, right? and a lot of people there spoke English, so everybody's very accommodating to me.
Okay.
They wanted to practice their, if they knew English, they wanted to practice their English with me. They didn't really care about me wanting to try to learn Spanish. They wanted to just practice English with me. So I didn't really get to practice Spanish.
Like you're all excited, like I'm gonna learn some new words, and like no, you're gonna go over more and more English with us.
yeah.
So
pretty much.
With all this hype and popularity, like why didn't you guys maybe go on with like a second issue of this, or was it kind of just a one shot?
COVID. So what happened was we had all these plans for 2020, and the book came out in late 2019, right at the peak of convention season in Spain. And then we had one convention planned. We had some conventions planned in March, which we were at in Malaga. And then we had other things lined up, but then the shutdown happened in March, at the end of March, and then everything got canceled. Panini, our publisher, decided they asked us if they could, because at that time, everybody, they locked down the country. Panini made most of their catalog available for free in PDF format, because as a gesture to everybody who couldn't go outside and spend money and everything like that. So they made our book free on their website for an extended period of time, which we were okay with. And then, the shutdown just never ended, and that hurt things a lot, because a lot of our sales came through going to conventions, meeting people, and selling, talking to people. They saw the book, they bought the book, and that's a lot of the culture in Spain, is that it's very comic book culture in Spain is very convention based, very local comic book store based, not very much like buying stuff online. So from the way it was explained to me anyway, so we found more of our success was coming from going to stores and getting the book in front of people, and then they were buying copies of it. Once that stopped, that kind of hurt us, because we don't have any brand recognition. We don't have any names behind it. And then our editor retired. We had the senior editor at Panini who was overseeing our book. He's the one who signed us. He's the one that put it forward. He retired. And then just the combination of that, the combination of the lockdown, all the momentum had just stopped. And then due to the lockdown, we just had to focus on, other things, employment, like Antonio had to make sure that money was still coming in, because it's still, drawing a comic book for an artist is a full-time job. Yeah. And if it's not, if the income is not guaranteed, to devote, 8 hours a day drawing pages, not sure that if you're going to get any kind of, paycheck back for these pages is a risk that you can't really take all the time. So we just decided, we're just going to table it until, we can figure out what to do.
You lucked out pretty big too, not getting stuck there. It, not being stuck over there when the lockdown happened. I got out of there the week before it happened. I was there. You got close.
My mom called me and she was like, "Are you still over there? You got to get over here right away because the president is going to close the borders." And I was like, "What?" And then
you're like, "No, it's not." And then
no, it's not. And then when I came back on the plane and we landed to JFK, you saw the CDC separating everybody, like hazmat suits. At that time they weren't sure where. They were separating flights and lining people up. It was like The Walking Dead in the airport, and it was pretty scary. But so then that just, the whole thing just went south for us.
My girlfriend was, I live in Ohio. My girlfriend was in California with her family visiting, and she ended up getting stuck there. She wasn't able to fly back for a couple months because everything was not happening. It was, and the thing is, if you've flown, chances are you were gonna get stuck in quarantine for a couple weeks. Dude,
yes,
it was so crazy. It's so crazy to think about, because now it's it's not even a thing. Dude, just 2 years ago, it was almost way back in the day when you were arriving to a port and you had to wait 30 days at the port to quarantine. just in modern times. It was such an unreal like experience.
Yeah. So it was, so we were just, the whole thing just kind of, all the momentum we had died. So we just decided, okay, we'll pick this up when things start again. And then while that was happening, I started writing, I just kept writing more ideas, and we started kicking around some more work. Antonio was doing other projects because he's still, a freelancer. That's where, he's a working artist, as well as a dad, stay-at-home dad who's a working artist. He has such an awesome setup. He's got this room with his drawing table, and then he's got this library of comic books around him, and his kids sit next to him and they watch him draw. It's such a cool setup.
I love when you can get your kid like involved on that type of level. You know what I mean? Because then chances are they're probably going to grow up and follow in your footsteps.
Yeah, definitely. So that's, so Gandhi was our first major published work. It's still in print. It's still available through Panini's website. And while the shutdown was happening, I was working from home, and I started writing other ideas. I had written a sequel for Gandhi. We had one where it's Gandhi 2: Rocket to Russia.
Dude!
It logically takes place during the Cold War, where Stalin becomes the villain. And
that is so cool, man.
Yeah, so that was the sequel. It's written. It's just, we had all this art. I still have. I'll send you, like, I have tons of promo art that he drew.
Dude, I love the Rockets to Russia. It's such a fucking like awesome like.
Well,
dude,
it's from the Ramones album. Yeah, I took it from the.
Oh man, someone like you could do so much because there's so many freaking wars to go off of, like going up and up and up. Like, oh man.
So, like that was the idea.
Real quick, if you could do like any war, in comic form, what would it be?
Oh wow. Probably it would probably be World War II.
Yeah.
Because mainly because of my grandfather. My grandfather served in World War II, and my grandfather was a big hero to me growing up, and I think that's probably part of why I keep going back to it. Like, to me, he's like, like that John Wayne character. He's like that American.
Did we ever see?
He's like G.I. Joe to me. Like so. That just time period, like, just, it always just reminds me of him. So I still.
Did we ever see like any Easter eggs of him like within any of your comics?
So not not yet. I dedicated Gandhi's dedicated to him, but I haven't like put him in anything yet. I just think about him when I'm writing those characters. Like when I write the main character, like whatever the main soldier character is, he's always kind of in the back of my mind.
Dude, that is so awesome.
So I think that's part of why I always, because he had like the Marine tattoo on his forearm, like the whole thing. He making coffee in his helmet, kind of stuff. Stories, so. I bet he was also the baddest one on the block too, huh? Probably, yeah. He was like a handyman. He was always fixing stuff. He was, he was the guy everybody went to fix things, whether it was your toaster, whatever, bicycle, car.
That's so cool.
Whatever. That's the stuff he did. So he's just kind of, always with me when I'm doing that stuff. So I think that's why I keep going back to World War II. And, but we did talk about, Antonio and I talked about maybe doing something during Vietnam, but we're not.
That would be really cool too.
Yeah. I'm not sure what he wants to do, but he just said, "Hey, I want to do something in Vietnam." I said, "Yeah, me too."
What do you think? Because a lot of the backgrounds in Northern Blood, it's like a winter setting. A lot of it, with the buildings and everything too. How do you think he would go with the foliage like of Vietnam? Because it seems like two way different, like polar opposites.
Yeah, so he can pretty much draw anything. He has a. He's not. Except for maybe horses, which he can draw horses, but he hates drawing horses.
I think everyone does.
So, and I think he might be watching this, so he's probably cursing me out right now. But he can draw anything. So like Northern Blood takes place in Kristiansands, Norway, in 1942, which is all you really see is snow and kind of woods and the inside of a bunker, and then an underground barrow. That's mainly all that you see. But he can, if you see his other works, he can draw anything. So I think he can pretty much adapt to that. I don't even think it would be a challenge for him, unless I don't include, as long as I don't include horses, he'll be all right.
Just make it a field of horses. Start off with it.
I told him that. Yeah, I'm just gonna put horses in it in every scene, and he's just like, I'm not gonna repeat what he said.
So, Northern Blood. Let's start diving into that. What's the concept? What's the premise? And we were talking about it earlier. Like for me, when I went through the preview, it kind of gave me like Inglourious Bastards meet like zombies. That was kind of the vibe that I picked up on.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty accurate. So the idea behind Northern Blood is, during working from home in 2020, I just was starting to. I was playing a lot of video games. Got back into playing Skyrim a lot, and I was like, I want to write a story like this. I want to see skeleton warriors running around chopping people up, and I wanted to do it in kind of a different setting. Mm-hmm. And I had just finished working on. I just kind of finished writing the script for the second Gandhi book, which took place in the Cold War. So I still had a lot of that military influence kind of rattling around in my head. So I figured, let me see if I can mash these two together. And, what better villain to have these skeleton warriors / zombies chop up than Nazis, right? Because everybody likes seeing Nazis get chopped up, right? They're always the best, cartoon villain you can just,
because no one cares when they get chopped in half. They're like, more of that. Like,
it's great. It's great. Cannon fodder. You just, it can just endless body count, and no one's gonna blink an eye. So, I started, throwing that idea around and came up with the story. So I basically wanted to, tell a very fast-paced action adventure story where, as soon as it starts on page 1. The action doesn't really let up until the end. Mm-hmm. There's a couple of pauses just so that you can get a good feel for the characters, because there are some likable humans in the story. But for the most part, I just want to tell a fast-paced, fun adventure action story that's just a good time. And I wanted to, the previous book was 120 pages. I wanted to do something a little bit shorter. I wanted to see if I could tell a shorter story with faster pace, and that was kind of the challenge I set for myself: keep it under 100 pages and see how I can incorporate some of these elements of Viking culture, the zombie element, the World War II element, and kind of mash it all together, and go from there. And Inglourious Bastards was definitely in there. The movie Overlord was an influence of it too. That was a great one. I saw that around that time. I was like, this is kind of a good idea. And so there's definitely Overlord had an influence there. Skyrim, even going back to like the original Clash of the Titans, where you have like those skeleton warriors running around and all that kind of cool stuff. So I wrote that, the original 80-page full script, and sent it over to Antonio just for feedback. I had no intention of asking him to draw it. And he said, I want to draw this. And I said, okay. And then he drew the cover, and then it just took off from there.
What was your initial impression of that cover when he first sent it over and you opened it up?
I didn't expect him. I didn't know he was going to draw it. He just sent it. And I saw the black and white, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then I saw the color version, and I was like, wow. I was like, what do you, he created the logo and everything. And I was like, oh shit, this is really awesome. And then I found out who colored it, and I was like, wow, wait a minute, this is really happening now.
And who colored it?
DC Alonso.
Okay.
So DC is an amazing colorist who has worked, I think, for pretty much every comic book company at this point. And he's also coloring a ton of different indie comics. Especially, there's a lot of Kickstarter campaigns out there right now that he's colored. And he's an amazing colorist, and you've undoubtedly seen his work.
Yeah.
And he's friends with Antonio. They both, DC lives out in Spain, so they're friends. And he's like, "Oh, my friend colored it," and I was like, "Oh." And I looked up his friend, and then I was like, "Oh shit!"
You're like, what is going on right now? Did you just have like you're like a magnet for all these big names?
Yeah, I was like, "Wow, this is like a super team." Well, minus not including me, but now I have like an all-star artist and an all-star colorist.
I think you gotta give yourself credit. I can't. I can count on like one finger how many people have a book they publish in a different that's published in a different language. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's awesome. That is an awesome thing for you. It
is. But I when it comes to what these guys are doing, I still have a long way to go. Like I kind of feel like I'm standing on the shoulder of giants. You know what I mean? Like these guys are Antonio, what DC has done with the colors for the cover, the front cover and the back cover. This is what people are seeing when they read the book. This is what they're like. This is what's wowing them. And so I have to.
The writing keeps them reading though.
Yeah, no, I agree. I totally agree. But you know what I mean. Like,
yeah, I do. You gotta learn to love yourself a little bit, Jason. You gotta get that confidence up, my man.
I know. But comic books are a visual medium, and I like to make sure that I put the artists.
No, I love that so much. Like when the creator can always give credit and make sure the creative team is getting the exposure that they need. Because a lot of times, in this field, you could see that kind of go unspoken here and there. Yeah. Now, before we kind of start diving into this campaign, there was an interesting looking soldier that I seen that had a mohawk. What was the story behind him and some of his inspiration? Because he looked like a Billy Badass too. Yes.
So that is all Antonio's idea. So when that is Frank Robinson. He's the essentially the main character of the story. He's the main character that we follow throughout this story. The mohawk, and I actually feel foolish for not remembering this, but do you remember the movie The Dirty Dozen?
Yes. Yep.
So The Dirty Dozen is based on a real life unit. I'm blanking on the name. Antonio sent it to me, where the soldiers in this unit would give themselves mohawks, because there was one soldier that I should have been prepared for this, but I'll send you the link at a later time. So anyway, he got the idea for the mohawk from this one particular soldier, and the unit that inspired his other the other people in his unit to shave, cut their hairs with the.
Was it Jack McNeese? Or Jake McNeese?
Hold on, I'm not entirely sure. He sent me a link to it, and I read it, and a while back, and then it just kind of went out of my head.
I tried to Google it on the fly for you, but I'm not that good at researching on the fly either.
Hold on.
I hate when this happens too. It's like right on the tip of your tongue. You're like, God damn it! I need to find this.
Yeah, it's like it's right in it's on the tip of my tongue, and now I'm like everybody's gonna be like, this guy doesn't research anything he writes. So let's see. I have it right here. Oh, okay. So The Dirty Dozen is based on the Filthy 13, which is was a unit that parachuted into France on D-Day. And the Filthy 13, okay, hold on. I'm gonna pull it up in a second. Okay, here it is. You are right. It is McNeese.
Give it up for my Googling on the fly skills. Let's go, baby.
Yes. So Frank Robinson is based Yeah, so sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good. Hey, the build up was
Yeah.
worth it. Anytime that I can be proven right online, let's go.
Yeah, because they're like, I know this is like a probably too much behind the curtain stuff, but there are times where, like I said, I'll write out pages and then Antonio puts in he puts his own spin on things. He doesn't always tell me what the Easter eggs are. He doesn't always tell me what the influences are. There's still things in Gandhi that I find now that he didn't tell me about. There was a scene he drew that was based on a scene in an Indiana Jones movie. That I was watching Indiana Jones one day, and this is well after the book came out, and I was like, holy shit. So I paused it and I pulled out the comic and I matched the panel up to the movie. And then he was like, yeah, he's like, yeah, you didn't realize that? I was like, why didn't you tell me?
That's funny.
So
that's
he puts stuff in
funny.
there, and if I don't catch it, then I think he knows he's got one over on me. So I'm sure there's tons of stuff.
Yeah, real quick, we're going to dive into the Indiegogo after this one last question. What's that creative process look like between you two? Like when you get ready to send him like a panel or like a page, the script of the page, like how's that look? Because I know I remember you saying sometimes you'll change the story to his adaptation as well. So like what's that process look like overall? Sure.
So what I do is I traditionally write in what's considered a full script format, where I break down each page. And I break down each panel. So if a page has 6 panels, I write down, page 1, and then I write the descriptions for panel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then I write out the dialogue for each panel. That's what like the full script format looks like, as opposed to like the Marvel style of writing, where you just kind of write a summary of what the page looks like, and then the artist will then break it down into the panels, into the sequential sequence. Yeah. So I do a full script only because that's just how I learned, and I just kind of stick to that. But with Antonio and he takes my full script format and just treats it as that Marvel style, where he'll read it and then he just adapts it. So I'll write out, let's say page 1 has, let's say 6 panels. But if he can tell the same sequence of events or the same scene in 5 panels, and he'll do that, and then he'll make it visually look, better than what I described, which usually is what happens, because he's the draftsman, he knows the layouts, he does something better. So then what I do is what I call, or what people call, a lettering draft. So after he draws the pages, I go back and I read through the script, and then I change the dialogue to match the changes he made. That's something that I learned the hard way, because when we were doing Gandhi, it was a kind of like because he did the lettering as well. So I'd give him the script, he would do the work, and then he would draw the comic, and then he would do the lettering right after, and then I would have all these changes after the fact, and it took us a little while to get in sync on how to get that.
And I would only imagine like working with words like you're looking at it and you're like, I don't know what this says right now. Like you know what I mean? Like that translation probably would have been hard too.
Well, he reads and writes English. So like he lettered it originally in English. So
okay.
And then when Panini came knocking, then we translated it. And
okay.
Then I left
that makes sense.
The translation up to him, and Panini. And he kept it as true to the translation as possible.
Cool.
But that's how our relationship is. I write the full script, he takes it and he adapts each page as he sees fit, while keeping to the story that's being told. And then I go back and adjust the dialogue based on his drawings, and it works out wonderfully. And then sometimes he'll make, obviously he's making story suggestions as well. Mm-hmm. Sometimes he's like, hey, I want to draw this. Can you put this in? Can we do this? I'm like, yeah, sure. And I'll change something, and then we'll sync up. And then, so it's very much a collaboration. Everything is 50-50 partnership, storytelling, everything. So, we work really well together. That's basically our collaboration.
Hey, well, speaking of collaboration, let's go ahead and take a look at it. Guys, you can right now go to this and get up, you could pledge your perk. How does that work? How long is it running for? Like,
So the way Indiegogo works, and the reason why I chose to run this campaign on Indiegogo first was Indiegogo has an in-demand option. So like you have your original, you can set your original campaign duration for, let's say, 30 days.
mm-hmm.
And then after that 30 days, when your campaign ends, you can go into what's called in-demand. So let's say if your product is ready by the end of the 30 funding days, then while it's in demand, it's kind of just buying the product on demand, so that you can still keep the campaign open and people can still kind of get whatever you're selling until you finally close it. And so it's a little different than Kickstarter. So the campaign originally launched back in November and ended towards the end of December.
Mm-hmm.
Once it ended in December, we went into in demand while we were getting the book finished. So the campaign is actually going to officially close at the end of June when we send the files off to the printer. So we're giving people who use Indiegogo a chance to get the book up until the very last minute.
Okay, so basically, like the campaign ended in December, and then we're normally like on Kickstarter, it would be ended, and they would just have that waiting time, that downtime. Like Indiegogo gives you the opportunity to kind of still get sales while you're in that downtime. That makes
Pretty
sense.
much, yeah.
So with this, was this your first Indiegogo campaign?
Yeah, this was my first Indiegogo campaign. We had a Kickstarter campaign for a Gandhi book years and years ago. And I wanted to try Indiegogo for the in-demand option. I wanted to see how it would work. And also with Indiegogo, you have an option to keep what you make. So Kickstarter is all or nothing model, right? Meaning like if you don't reach your goal, you don't get anything. Indiegogo is a little less forgiving. So if you meet let's say if you just stick to your flexible $500 goal and you go beyond that, as long as you hit that $500, you keep whatever you make when you close the campaign. So I kind of like that. It took the pressure off of us instead of setting a goal that we may not be able to make.
So is like that, like the flexible goal, like kind of like the like deductible, like you have to hit that amount in order to get the pledges?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to hit that. Yeah, you have to hit that initial mark, from what I understand. So having like that flexible model took the pressure off of me because, like I mentioned earlier today, having two jobs and managing a crowdfunding campaign is pretty difficult. So I didn't want to have the stress.
So funded in 24 hours though. Congratulations. That had to have been such an awesome feeling, dude.
Yeah, I did it. I did a lot of the pre-work. I had the preview page up for 6 weeks before the campaign went live. Just hitting social media and getting people to sign up. I built up a mailing list for that 6 weeks, and we hit it in 24 hours. So what did you do? Did you study online? Did you take a course? Have a friend help you along the way? I mean, the 6 week pre-launch seems kind of like a veteran move. No, I just studied online. I just went online, watched YouTube videos about what people did, and everybody was just like, you have to do like the pre-campaign work before you go live. You have to build up a mailing list. You have to build up an audience, get them psyched about it instead of just dropping the live date and expecting people to show up for it. You got to get them excited. You have to build up the hype for it, build up awareness. And that's what I tried to do. And, it worked. But then, we only got 74 backers, which I was hoping we, wanted to get more, obviously. But like I'd mentioned, having 2 day jobs on top of running the campaign, I just didn't have a lot of time to promote it once the campaign started.
Well, even because it looked like on December 31st, you had 45. So you got, 29 extra backers since then, it would appear, which... it equated to $500 extra. So that's pretty cool that you were able to do the in-demand with this. Now, is this a little video that we could watch?
It's a short video. That just so we can watch that.
We'll play it. It's gonna drown out your volume though, so if you try to talk, we won't be able to hear you until it's over.
No problem.
All right, so let's check this out. Did you make this yourself?
I did.
I remember saying that you went to school for like audio stuff, and you took had some technical experience as well. So. I like that. Yeah, that was nice. That was nice. So, Northern Blood is a graphic novel. Nazis have stolen an ancient Viking treasure, and the dead have risen to take it back. You are at 74 backers and 1,764. We're going to go ahead and take this link, and I'm going to put it in our chat. Guys, feel free to check this out with us, and feel free to get your hands on a digital. The digital alone is an awesome price at $6 USD. So, phenomenal price right there. So let's go ahead and start breaking things down, and then what we'll do is we'll go back up and go through the perks individually. So sure. Northern Blood is Sergeant Rock meets Skyrim in this fast-paced, action-packed thriller. And then here's a little bit on the story. So it's a fast-paced action horror set in Nazi-occupied Norway. During the winter of 1942, undead Viking warriors rise from the grave to massacre the Nazis, responsible for ransacking the tomb they swore to protect. So a really interesting concept right here. What kind of drove you for this inspiration?
So, you know, my main inspiration was, again, going back to, you know, wanting, you know, playing games like Skyrim, and the idea that there are these creatures that protect tombs, right? When, you know, like any other Dungeons and Dragons or any type of tabletop fantasy-based role-playing game, you know, when your party enters a tomb or a burrow where there could be some type of treasure you can loot, there's consequences when you open up those treasure chests, right? Either, you know, you could potentially open up those chests, there's a monster inside the chest that you have to battle for the treasure, or, you know, monster hordes are just going to start coming out of nowhere, right? And then you're going to have to battle these things. It's, you know, maybe a trap, or maybe the monsters there, they're bound to protect whatever your party's trying to loot. So the idea was that Frank Robinson, the main character, the American soldier that we were talking about earlier, him and a few of his fellow soldiers are lost. They're walking through the woods in Kristiansand, Norway, 1942. They've been separated from their unit. As they're walking through the forest, they come across a Nazi patrol. They engage in battle. The Nazis chase them through the woods. Frank and his unit stumble upon this Viking tomb that is buried underground. As they fall through, some of the unit members die, and Frank ends up being the last one of his unit. The Nazis then follow him into the tomb to try to, you know, chase him down, kill him. And as they chase him down into the tomb, they discover that within this tomb, there's a large treasure room that belongs to whoever had lived in this region before. So, of course, Nazis being Nazis, they steal all of the treasure. And by doing that, they awaken the monsters, or in this case, the Viking warriors that have been placed there to protect that treasure over time. They're now awakened. And they've come back to life to reclaim the treasure the Nazis have stolen. So as the Nazis have taken the treasure out of the tomb, they bring it back to their bunker along with Frank as a prisoner. And while they're sorting through the treasure, they're interrogating Frank. There's a over-the-top Nazi villain who's the main villain of the story, known as the Captain. While he's beating up on Frank, trying to get information out of him, they're dissecting some of the Viking warriors, trying to figure out how they can weaponize them. While this is all happening, the main Viking warrior has come on the scene, and he's gathering his army as they rise from the ground, and they start making their way to the bunker to reclaim the treasure. Dude. And that's kind of when all hell kind of breaks loose.
Yeah, dude, this sounds brutal.
Yeah.
The format, Northern Blood is an 80-page black and white graphic novel with color front and back covers. And then we already went over why Indiegogo, so this is just a little bit in the text format. And then why English and Spanish editions. You're offering Northern Blood in English and Spanish because the artists Antonio and cover colorist DC Alonso live in Spain. We want to make sure their friends and family can all have an edition in their native language. Are you going to see the Spanish edition of this on the label that the Gandhi comic was on?
So once it's finished, we're going to submit it to our editor. Antonio and I kind of have a pact where we don't submit anything to a publisher until it's completed. Mm-hmm. So we don't like to submit half-finished stories because we just like to create a product or a book that's completely finished and professional looking, and then we submit it because now the publisher knows or the editor knows exactly what we have in mind. Yep. And they know what they're getting and they have it in their hands. So that's what we do. So once this is done, next month it'll be finished by the end of this month. And once the printed copies come back, we'll then submit it to our editor and see how it goes.
Let's go. So here's the timeline. Yeah. As of the campaign's launch date, we have 60 pages completed, pencil inked and lettered. Our estimated completion date is July 2022. Rewards start shipping by September 2022. We will provide our backers with weekly updates on the book's progress through the Indiegogo's update feature. So yep. Yeah, you how close are you to completion as of right now?
So we have, so we're on schedule. I just saw the completed inks for pages 68 and 69. So we have 11 pages to go. And he'll have that done probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, let's go.
So yeah, and then the lettering will be done by the end of this month. And then it'll be off to the printer within the first week of July. So we're completely on track, and then it all depends on how fast the printer turnaround time is. But I'm guessing, we'll probably have the book in the mail to everybody, by late August, early September, depending on the printer turnaround time.
Ooh, late August is my birthday too. Let's go. August 28th. Let's get that Northern Blood in my hands, baby. So right here is the cover, and this is so brutal looking. I love it. Just the Northern Blood and red. And then right here, is this our main Viking leader?
No. So it's not. So these are just some foot soldiers that came out of the concept art for the cover. These guys are just foot soldiers that he had come up with at the time of the cover.
Gotcha.
You will see the main leader on the back cover, and I think well, go ahead. You'll see in a second.
Oh yeah, so because I seen the variants, I want to look because it looked like it was so cool breaking through. I love how it's like this fourth panel breaking the wall type of look where he's breaking the actual cover with the sword swoop, the title and then the little what's the square called on the side? I always forget. It's right on the tip of my tongue too.
Yeah. Corner box, isn't it?
Corner box, yeah, there it is. I think it's called corner box. Yeah, I really like how it's breaking it. What was the inspiration for this?
So this is a homage to the first appearance of Beta Ray Bill. Beta Ray Bill is the second person to carry the mantle as Thor for Marvel Comics. So the first appearance of Beta Ray Bill is essentially this cover where Beta Ray Bill has his hammer and he's swinging it down, breaking the Thor title.
That's so cool. You pretty big Thor fan?
I am, yeah. And this is something, we're both really big fans of Walter Simonson, and Walter Simonson created Beta Ray Bill and in Thor 337, and so Antonio thought it was a good opportunity to riff on the cover, and it's beautiful. It was his choice to put my name in the corner box. I don't know why.
That's pretty cool though.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty neat. But yeah, it's pretty cool. And then here's the back cover.
Oh yeah, this guy looks like a bad motherfucker. Oh man, he's huge.
Yes, so that is the main villain, or I don't want to call him the main villain because really depends on your perspective.
Yeah, he was just sleeping. These guys are trying to steal his stuff. I get it.
Right, exactly. He's just trying to get back what's his. So
Yeah.
that's Ivar. That's Ivar, son of Stone, and he is the leader of this Viking horde, and he's the one that is sworn to protect the treasure that the Vikings have stolen. So he arrives on the scene in sort of an epic fashion.
Is this a Mjolnir right here?
No. It's just it might be an Easter egg for yeah. I think it's just an Easter egg for that.
I was like,
there's a guy.
Awesome, that's so cool. I love it.
He's got a partner with one arm and he's got like a hammer. His right hand dude has like a hammer and one arm, and so he's the main guy trying to get his loot back. And we actually have plans for a prequel comic explaining his origin and how he became sworn to protect the treasure that was stolen.
See him kill the animal that he's wearing across the shoulders too, because that looks like a big battle in itself.
Of course.
That's so cool. Yeah, this cover is like, this is gorgeous too. I just love the details and the coloring in it.
And they're both, the front and back are colored both by DC. It's
gorgeous. Beautiful. So right here is a preview. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. That back cover is actually a colored page. That's actually page number 40 within the comic.
Okay, that's cool too. I love I love when that happens. I'm showing actual artwork from the book itself.
Yeah, because DC wanted to color it, and then I was like, oh, we got to use this as the back cover. But it's one of the interior pages, one of the splash pages.
Yeah, this is so cool. So right here is a preview. Here's a look at some of the preview pages from Northern Blood. Below is just some of the incredible Antonio artwork that is will actually be in the book. So right there, of course, is the cover. And then this is the introduction page. I love this too, how this it says Northern Blood with all this detail in it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So right here is page 1. So what are we looking at right here, and what's kind of going on in this scene?
So here is the opening, and the opening is where we first meet Frank Robinson, who is the first person on the left, who's in the back. These are 3 U.S. soldiers that were separated from their unit, and they're sort of lost in the forests of Kristiansand, Norway, and they're trying to find any small town or any type of shelter they can before nightfall. So here we open on them wandering on the forest, trying to figure out where they are.
I love this detail too.
Trying to avoid running into any Nazi patrols, since they know they're in an occupied territory.
Yeah, I love the detail, like the snow, the footprints in the snow, the vapors from breathing because it's so cold outside, like, and smoking, it looks like too, cigarettes. Awesome, dude. Yeah, your artist definitely killed it. I really love like the black and white feel to it too. It adds that grittiness to it. I think it's really beautiful. So page 2, something definitely. I loved how this was a nice little start too, because we see him just get shot.
Yes. So page 2 and 3 are double page splash, where we get right into it. The title page is a 2-page spread, where the character in the middle is shot dead. So that he's shot dead by a Nazi soldier, and then a firefight breaks out on the title page.
Yeah, I really love how they're like using his body as like like hiding behind it. And then hidden behind the trees. What was some of your direction right here that you gave your artist, like when you were originally giving him the idea for this?
Oh, so for page 2 and 3 for that 2-page spread was basically because the way we work, like I keep things pretty simple. So I just had double page spread. U.S. soldiers engage in a firefight with the Nazi patrol, and then he just took it from there. Because that's just how we work. Like,
this is crazy too.
Yeah, he's such a gifted storyteller that, I give him my basic idea of what I'd like to see, and then he takes it and then he runs with it, and then he's like, "What do you think?" And I'm like, let's go, and
I really love like right here the paneling, like, and then you see this paneling right here where it's kind of bleeding into the other ones and the grenade throw. Like it was just it's really awesome, like the scenes and just how he really encapsulated everything.
Yeah, there's a lot of like he's definitely channeling like the old like Joe Kubert war comics here with that round panel kind of insert. It's pretty cool. Like, and I love like the 3D effect of how the soldier throwing the grenade, his hands are, his hand and head are breaking through the other panels. It's pretty cool. I love stuff like that.
And right here's where we see him kind of step and fall through that hole you were talking about.
Yep, they're running away because they realize they're outgunned, and then as they're running away, they fall through what would have been, I guess, part of the ceiling of the barrow or the tomb.
I love how dark it is in here, and we see that he of course didn't survive the fall, but just like how it's like pitch black. This was so awesome, and like it gives you that eerie feeling too.
Yeah, and we kind of wanted to really like channel like the horror element here of, it's completely pitch black until the lighter turns on, and then he finds his buddy impaled dead, and now he realizes he's the last one. And what does he do? He grabs his dog tags so he can send them back home.
Yeah.
And then he realizes that the Nazis aren't giving up, and he's kind of in a situation now where what is he going to do? And he's the last one left.
And then we see as exploring deeper and deeper, he stumbles across some rather interesting looking faces here, or should I say lack of.
Yeah. So now we as he's walking through this tomb, he's starting to realize that he's not in Kansas anymore. And and we're starting to see some the people that are guarding this tomb, and giving us a little what's the word? Foreshadowing to what is about to happen. So these guys are gonna wake up in a few minutes and give these guys the business. So
I love how I love how he was just designing like the view of everything, like the perspective view of like walking through the cave with the skeletons lining the wall, and then pushing open the door. Your artist and yourself, you guys both as a team do a good job of like relaying those different senses of like the creak and the pushing the door open and everything. Like I just visually and like reading it, just so awesome, man.
Yeah, thank you. We really try hard not to waste panels. Like we sequential storytelling is so important that we try to make every panel count when we put it down on the page. So every page, every panel has to have a point, right? So we try to get to we try to just cut out all the excess and just make sure that, okay, if this page is here or if this panel is here, there has to be a purpose. It has to convey something. So we try our
really love this page as well, just how detailed. Like this probably took him hours to draw all these individual coins.
yeah I don't even like, and he's incredibly fast too. I've sat next to him at conventions and I've seen him work, and I have some videos somewhere that I'll send you so you can see him working. He's incredibly fast artist, but yeah, this must have been, he was definitely mumbling under his breath because I just put like, Frank opens the door and discovers treasure room, and then he was probably like, what the fuck, like
yeah, like god damn it.
Yeah,
this part's really awesome too. This is where we kind of see him get ambushed. He's not really expecting to have the Germans so close up onto him, and they whack him in the head with the butt of the rifle.
Yep. The Germans show up. He's kind of surprised. He's in awe at what he sees with this treasure room. So he doesn't realize the Nazis are so close behind him. They knock him out, and then they're happy because they've caught him, and two, they've discovered this room full of gold that they can now bring back and report back their findings. But they're in for a rude awakening because now that since that door has opened, the the warriors that were asleep are now awake, and they are about to greet them in a way they're not gonna like.
Oh yeah, so. This is like when I seen this, I was like, dude, this is so awesome. Just seeing them kind of just get sliced right down the middle.
Yeah. So like, this unfortunate fellow gets greeted.
And the sound effect, I love it.
Yeah. So he just gets chopped in half, and we wanted to like my idea was like I just want to see people getting chopped in half. Like I want to just really, this is what we're gonna do. Really over the top. So we just had a lot of fun with it. And then this guy just takes them, starts taking them out in short order.
He's like just like chopping heads off, chopping limbs off left and right. And then I love this part so much too, because this guy thinks he has him, like shoots his head off, and then schlunk right there, axe in the face. You see his teeth breaking from his mouth. Such an awesome visualization too.
Yeah, and then his buddy rolled up on him and just cleaved his head in half. So then here we kind of leave you on a little cliffhanger where we think, well, I don't want to spoil it, but we have this warrior he sees Frank's still alive on the floor, and he's going to put Frank out of his misery too. And then, so that is the preview for like the first handful of sequential pages, and then we kind of just jump to some of the bigger splash pages as a example. Because at this point, like I didn't want to,
so awesome.
we didn't want to spoil too much of the story, so I figured that was a good place to end it on, and then we just show a couple of more of the splash pages.
Yeah, dude, this is so detailed too. It has like the attention to detail. Just the armor is ridiculous. Like this is so detailed. I love it.
Yeah. This page, I love this page. Like they're, they're making their way across the forest towards the bunker, and this is just incredible. And the page below it is where we see Ivar. He has arrived. There's other pages before this. This is just out of order because, like I said, I didn't want to spoil too much of the story because I don't like that when you like see a preview of a comic book.
Yeah.
Where so I wanted to keep like the bigger moments, a secret until you buy the book, and then you get all of that when you buy the book.
It's kind of like a movie too, like when they show all the good stuff in the trailer, and it's like you're watching the movie and you're like, oh, like come on now.
Yeah, and then if you go to the update page, you'll see some new pages. But for this page, we see Ivar. He rolls up in his own boat, and I wanted to have him have more of like a bigger entrance than just like waking up in the tunnel. So he actually shows up on his own boat, and he blows his ancient horn, and then the dead start rising out of the ground.
Yeah, this is such a cool page too.
Yeah, and so like there's more of this. So as he's stalking through the forest towards the bunker, more and more soldiers start coming out of the ground, and his army just starts building and building and building as he makes his way towards the bunker. And by the time he gets there, there's like thousands of them.
Oh man, that is insane.
Yeah. So, and I think you like, it's really cool. I don't know how else to say it. Antonio really crushed it.
Yeah,
I just can't wait. I can't wait for everybody to
this
see
rising
it.
up from the ground, like the details in it, is just phenomenal. And I just love how he was able to like the snow on the trees, and just the details and the panel breaking is just so remarkable. Like when he's blowing into the horn and it kind of breaks the panel right here. I love that.
Yeah. And he told me like from the very beginning that he was like, I want this to be really special. So he's really like putting everything into it. So
and right here is a visual of the creative team. So we have the artist, the colors, and of course the man of the hour himself, the writer.
Yeah, so Antonio is eternally 4 years old from the photo. And then of course DC, our colorist, the amazing colorist, and me, and that photo is actually taken in front of one of the comic book stores we did a signing at back in 2019.
That's awesome.
I just cropped it up. But yeah, I kept the creative team short because I know like credentials could be a selling point, but I wanted more space on the page just for the pictures and story.
One thing I've noticed, you always put your artist and colorist in front of you, and I have a lot of respect for that too. You're always putting your creative team in front of you. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, and like we argue about that. So you'll see on the book, you'll see my name first. I told Antonio I wanted his name first, but he wants to keep it like he wants to keep with the tradition of like, Claremont Byrne, Wolfman Perez, things like that, right? But I'm like, I want you to be there because I want you first because you're the artist. It's a comic book. The artist should be first. It's what the people see first.
Yeah.
But we argue about it. So what I do is for the images that I can control, I put his name first. He can't do anything about it.
He won't let you win because he draws it in. I see it.
Yeah. So he can't. So with the stuff I control, I put his name first, and he can't do anything about it. So
that's so awesome.
But yeah, no, I just, because this is how I am. I mean, I know, because we look, the amount of work it takes to sit at that drawing table and draw those pages every single day on a schedule, it's a full-time job for anybody. And whether you are just starting out or if you're a full-time professional that's been in the business for 25 years, comic books are a labor of love, and it should be acknowledged. And so that's why I put, when I'm in control, I put the artists first, because that's where awesome. I feel they should be. And I think even the comic book companies, they should do the same. But that's just me. But yeah, that's why that's why that's like that. But yeah, man. So
real quick, we'll go through some of the tiers too, or.
Yes, because that's what I was just going to say, because I actually have some things here I can show you on camera.
Yeah. So first thing, we already talked about it, was the Northern Blood PDF for $6. And then you can get the Spanish edition of that for $6 as well. And then the trade paperback for $12. So this is going to be awesome. That was the one that I picked up. I'm excited for that. And then you can get the Spanish edition for that as well for $12. And then you're also offering the variant cover for $12 as well, which I thought was pretty interesting. So you're keeping it at the same price.
Yes, because we kept the price low, because I know when I first started the campaign, a lot of people told me that we could have probably charged more for an 80-page comic book, but we wanted to keep the price reasonable, because this isn't for us. This is not for this project, we're not concerned about the money. We just we love the book, and we just want to get it out there, and we want people. We're just happy with getting the production cost recouped, right? So as long as we can pay for the shipping and printing and break even, it's all good for us. So we just want people to read the book and like it, So that's why we're keeping it at a reasonable price point for everybody. So that if you like it, you can. You don't have to spend too much of your hardworking. $12 is outstanding for 80 pages. Like, that is an outstanding price for 80 pages. And so definitely. And so with right now, when you buy a physical copy, everybody, because we had some stretch goals that we reached, if you can see it on camera, everybody gets.
Here, hold on one second, real quick. Do you think we covered your Indiegogo pretty as in depth as we could?
I think so. I mean, I think if anything, you can just maybe show the updates page and just.
So let's go through the updates, and what we'll do is then we'll transition to where our camera's bigger, and then you can show your sticker so we can see it better.
Yeah. Makes sense. So with the update page, like I mentioned in the content page, we kept true to our word. We provide an update every week so that backers know that we're still, that we're hard at work on this book every week. That we're making sure that this thing is on schedule, and we're providing updates with whether it's on the pages themselves, the production of the book, or if it's getting the rewards shipped to us and created, printed and shipped to us, so that they're just, the backers are always in the loop. as this stuff is happening, so that they know
Mhm.
they're going to get the product that they ordered. So we stay true to our word. Every week, I may not have the most entertaining updates, but at least every Sunday or Monday, they get an update from
Oh,
me
these sketch
saying,
cards
"Hey,
look awesome.
like this is what this is where we're at." So you can rest assured that you're getting your
The Viking, this Viking dude, look, the main Viking guy looks just phenomenal on the sketch card right here, dude. Oh my god, I love this detailing.
Yeah. So like that, that's part of the sketchbook reward that we offered in the very beginning of the campaign. That has, and I'll show you that in a second. But yeah, those are some of the pages that he did. It's pretty awesome. And then, like with anything else, I did some cross promotion with some of the crowdfunding campaigns that I came across on Twitter for books that I really, really liked what I saw. So
I see my boy Stokes on here too, and Matt. I was happy when Matt hit his. That was a swing to the end.
Yeah, and Matt sent me the first issue, and I really loved it. I still have to get caught up on a lot of my reading, but I really love.
I think we all do. Oh my god, there's just so many books out there,
Yeah, absolutely. Like this just, I went over. Yeah, there's just way too much going on right now.
All right, let's go ahead.
A lot of this.
So if you want to go ahead and start showing us some of those stickers.
Yes. So now, everybody that purchases a physical copy of Northern Blood, you get a holofoil trading card.
Oh, that is cool.
Right. And on the back it has the title, and the front is the holofoil. Sorry, this camera angle is messing me up.
Nope, there you go.
Yeah. So you get your holofoil trading card with every purchase of the physical copy. And then everybody also gets a print.
Oh, that looks awesome too. That's gorgeous.
Yeah, so everybody who gets a physical copy of the book also gets this print and the trading card, guaranteed. And then those were the two stretch goals that we met. So, the campaign will be running until the end of June, and then we're going to close it out once we send the print files to the printer.
And once again, guys, here's the link to the campaign. Be sure to get on there, check it out, and if you like what you see, I mean, dude, even pick up the digital. The digital is just $6, but for double that price, you're gonna get the trade paperback, and it's 80 pages. And these interiors are just gonna be filled with just like amazing art. Like this art is just gorgeous.
Yeah, it really is incredible. And then the sketchbook, which is not up there, but that the sketchbook will be available with the Kickstarter campaign we're going to launch, is the holofoil sketchbook.
Oh, that looks so awesome.
So this was available in the initial 30 days of the Indiegogo campaign, and this has the something here. Has the
oh wow.
Yeah, it has those pages that we just showed. So these are 12 pages of sketches of character turnarounds and all that good stuff.
That's so gorgeous. How's that feel to be holding in your hands? Like that is such an awesome looking book, dude. The holograph.
Yeah. Oh, it's incredible. This is like, yeah, this really came out like really. It's just awesome. Like we originally the reward was 8 pages, but we expanded it for. We decided to make it 12. So everybody's getting an extra 4 pages.
That's so cool.
Yeah, but no, it's this whole thing's incredible. Like I can't wait to get the completed printed copy in my hands. So in August.
Since we just got done going over the Indiegogo, for anyone that's watching, that's kind of on the fence about backing, about getting a perk, what would you like to say to them directly, kind of push them over that barrier? Just for anyone that's kind of just on the fence, and just give them that little shove.
I can guarantee that that you will have the book in hand as promised, right? We are on track. The book will be completely finished by the end of this month, the end of June. It will go to the printer first week of July, and we'll start shipping out in September. So there's no worry that this campaign will not be fulfilled. That is a promise that we've made from day one, and we've kept true to our words since day one. And you can see that just by the updates. You can see that from my Twitter presence. I'm constantly talking about how we're hard at work at this. I can guarantee it. You can even reach out to me directly and we can talk about that.
Yeah, no, that is so cool. That is awesome.
And the other thing is that I know some people prefer different crowdfunding platforms, over another, right? So this is a conversation I had with a few people recently. Some people don't like using Indiegogo for whatever reason, and some people don't like using Kickstarter for whatever reasons. So since we launched this campaign on Indiegogo and we were successful, I've met people that are hesitant to back the campaign because it's on Indiegogo, because they just want to use the platform they're comfortable with. So we've decided that this summer, most likely going live August 1st, we will launch the Kickstarter campaign for Northern Blood. So that anybody that is interested in the comic book and they exclusively stay with Kickstarter, they have a chance to get the book through Kickstarter in August. And then
dude, hell
at
yeah.
that point, yeah, and the book, will ship on time as well, obviously, because it'll be done by then. You get the same rewards, the sketchbook, the print, and the trading card. Everything will be the same. And you can have an opportunity to grab the book then if you want to wait, because I understand.
That is so cool. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
And then it'll be finished by that time, so the shipping should be a little bit quicker too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So we're going to anticipate. We're going to stock. Ideally, I'd like to pre-stock the copies to anticipate orders on Kickstarter, so they can go out as soon as the campaign ends, so that nobody has to wait. Everybody that backed us on Indiegogo and who has waited has been amazing. So I also want to acknowledge that, because they have been waiting a long time. But
80 pages is a lot. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. And typically, we wanted to we thought about waiting and starting the campaign when the book was completed, but I'm kind of glad we didn't, because I've met so many wonderful people during this process that who knows what would have happened if I would have waited. So, it's going to be good, man. A couple of months, everybody I think is going to enjoy what they get. So
that's so awesome.
Very cool.
Hey, well, I think this is the perfect segue for us to begin wrapping up. So I want to ask you one question in particular, Jason, and with this being as much of a show to kind of help promote your book and your work, it is one of those things where a lot of indie creators watch this as well. So I try to make it to where they can learn a little something along the way too. With that being said, for anyone that's kind of out there that's struggling to kind of get their own idea off the ground, or maybe they're just struggling to get the script started, what type of advice would you give them to kind of help them work through that barrier?
And getting their script started?
Yeah, or any just of the creation process, just to get going.
Oh, so I think if you are interested in getting into writing comic books, we'll stick with the comic book medium. Keep reading as many comic books as you can. Try to find scripts of the comic books you like, or the writers and creators that you like. Try to go online, right? Artists post in progress works all the time. Follow them on social media, see how the artists are working, how they lay out pages, see how, follow writers on social media, ask them for examples of scripts. A lot of writers post script examples, see how they work out their process. There's a lot of writers, I think like Scott Snyder, who has a writing class through his Substack subscription, where you can learn how Scott Snyder does it. I think find the writers that you like. Yeah, I joined his Substack to follow his class, and I thought it was amazing. So I think for me, what I did was, find the creators that you like, follow them, and see how they do it, and then try to learn from that, and see how they write, see where their inspirations come from, see how those artists draw, see how they lay out pages, find out what tools they use, see, all that kind of thing. If you like what movies you like, go out and try to find the screenplay for that movie, and then see how they wrote it and use that as a template, and just start. You got to start somewhere. It's like, when you start writing songs, learn how to play your favorite songs on the guitar, and then hammer out those songs, and then try to figure out your own style from there.
No, that is awesome. I really appreciate that response, because I think that is something that really a lot of people don't really consider is, sometimes following in the steps of someone just to kind of get going and then taking it for your own can be really beneficial at the end of the day. And I think that is such an awesome piece of advice. And yeah, with that being said, guys, it is a beautiful Saturday. I have to get things around because I'm going to have a night filled with my children. We're going to be playing a lot of Mario Kart and just dadding out the rest of the night. I look forward to kind of getting some R&R and not really breaking away from the indie community, but just kind of like taking a step back and breathing a little bit. So with that being said, it is time for us to officially begin wrapping up. Jason, this was such an awesome interview. I appreciate you coming on and just breaking everything about Northern Blood and everything in between too, man. Thank you.
Oh, no, thank you, man. So happy to be here. I'm glad you asked me. This was great. I hope we can do it again sometime.
Yeah. And dude, we could definitely try to get you back on for that Kickstarter too, to take a look at that and kind of break that down too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, with that being said, guys, we are going to be wrapping it up. Be sure to check out the comments and the descriptions to stay in touch with Jason. We have his Twitter as well as his Indiegogo link there. Be sure to check it out, and I'm going to drop that in the comments one more time. And with that being said, we are going to be taking... man, I just fucked up this... I usually... 73 interviews, and I've never stumbled on the outro. With that being said, guys, we are going to be ending the podcast officially. I hope you guys have an awesome Saturday, but most importantly, keep it geekly.